Welcome to STEM Nola. My name is Dr. Calvin Mackey, and I'm happy to have you all tuning in. As a little background, we founded STEM Nola 7 years ago to expose and inspire and engage communities in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. In the last 7 years, we've engaged over 50,000 K-12 students, over 12,000 families, and over 1,500 college students and STEM professionals. One thing that I'm proud to say is that we've put over $1 million in the hands of college students over the last 7 years serving as college interns with STEM Nola, going out and engaging the community. So thank you for tuning in. Parents, thank you for believing in STEM Nola and trusting us with your most prized possession, your child, your scholar. STEM Nola believe that either we're training ourselves from the neck up or the neck down. In the 21st century, our children will only have one or three options. Either they're gonna take something, break something, and/or make something. And if we don't give them the skills and education to make something, like make a living, make a life, make a difference, it only leaves them with the two options that we see on the news every night, and that's to take and break. I don't want that for my two children, and I know you don't want that for yours, and that's why we're here today to expose our children to the possibilities of the 21st century. This is my friend. This is Alpha. Alpha is a humanoid. A humanoid is a robot that tries to act like a human. This humanoid has 9 servos and can do pretty much anything physically that a human can do. This is our competitor in the 21st century. Alpha can actually do push-ups. Alpha can even show off. And Alpha can even dance. And like any superhero, Alpha has her own music. This is the machine. And the automatic machine in the 21st century will displace many workers. In the aftermath of COVID, you have to believe that there are many companies out there saying never again will we allow a pandemic or something that happened in nature shut us down. So COVID has exacerbated the possibilities of machines displacing people. If you're competing against Alpha, you will not win. The only way we defeat Alpha is by developing our heart and developing our head, training ourselves from the neck up such that we can control the robots so that the robots will not control us. That's why we're here. That's why STEM Nola exists. That's why your parents want to make sure that you all participate in events like this so you can know the possibilities of the 21st century. Again, I'm Dr. Calvin Mackey, and I want to say thank you for tuning in. Now let's get busy innovating, creating, and making with STEM Nola. Thank you.
All right, that was Dr. Calvin Mackey, the head of STEM Nola. It is my pleasure to see him on the screen. My name is Ariana Craichan. I am currently a senior at Xavier University, and my major is computer science. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. Today's module is weather science, and our agenda today, we will be going over vocabulary terms, our objectives and activity questions. Our experiments are rain in a jar, tornado in a jar, and then afterwards we will be following with activity questions and answers. So our vocabulary for today is, we have tornado, which is a type of storm in which powerful rotating winds form a column which reaches from a cloud down to the ground. Our next word is water vapor, a liquid or a solid that has become a gas because of heat or a drop in pressure. Our next word is condensation, the process by which water vapor, water in its gas form, turns into a liquid. And last but not least, meteorology, a field of science that studies the changes in weather on a day-to-day basis in a specific place. So your local weatherman is actually a meteorologist. Our objectives for today are You as a student will be able to understand the concepts of tornado, water vapor, condensation, and meteorology, and apply them to the experiments. You will also be able to perform an experiment to create your own rain in a jar and or tornado in a jar. Our questions of the day are, how does rain form? How are tornadoes formed? And what is condensation? So just keep in mind those vocabulary terms we went over. Our first activity is rain in a jar. So let's get started. Our materials for this activity is a mason jar with a lid, which is what I have here. We also have tap water. I have bottled water, so I'll be using this today. And then we also need shaving cream right here and food coloring here. And while you all get those materials out, I'll be going over what's the science behind it. So clouds are formed when water vapor rises into the air and condenses into tiny particles of dust. When billions of these droplets come together, a visible cloud forms. Over time, the droplets and crystals that make up a cloud can attract more water to themselves. When water droplets grow heavy enough, gravity pulls them down as raindrops. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? I'm going to open up the lid on my jar. You want to be able to pour about 3/4 of water into the jar. So let me see. We're thinking right there should be good. So once you have that, you're going to shake up your bottle of shaving cream. Make sure that it's not all loose and whatnot. You're going to spray some in the jar, like so. Get your food coloring. My top is already off of mine. You're going to drop a couple of drops into the shaving cream. I didn't do a whole lot. Let's see. Let me open this up. There we go. So zoom in, sees the food coloring coming down, kind of falling like rain typically would, because it's going to seep through the shaving cream. Let me see if I put a little more. Got a little action. There we go. All right. So I'll set this out right here for everybody to be able to see as the rain falls. And that was why it's happening. All right. So the shaving cream acts as our clouds, right? As our cloud, big, nice, fluffy clouds in the sky. And so like we were talking about before, when those clouds and all of that science happens with those clouds, we have the water falling through and it's kind of landing at the bottom of the jar, which is like our ground. So as you see, it's falling down. There we go. I'm trying to see. Okay, I see it this way. So, like mentioned before, over time, those droplets and those crystals make up a cloud, can attract more water for themselves. So while they're attracting all that water, those droplets grow heavy enough to fall back down to the ground. So that's what you see here occurring. All right. We ready for our next activity? Yes, let's get started. I like this one a lot. All right, so our next activity is tornado in a jar. Let's see what we're talking about here. Our materials include another mason jar. We also have some more tap water. I'll be using more water. We have dish soap. I have a little droplet, vinegar, and then we'll also need more food coloring. And while you guys gather those materials, I'm going to go over once again what the science behind it is. A large thunderstorm occurs in a cloud. A change in wind direction and wind speed at high altitudes causes the air to swirl horizontally. Rising air from the ground pushes up on the swirling air and tips it over, creating a vertical funnel. The funnel of swirling air begins to suck up more warm air from the ground. The funnel grows longer and stretches towards the ground. When the funnel touches the ground, it's called a tornado. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to once again take off my lid. We still want the same amount of water as we did in our first activity in the second one. So about 3/4. Use that one. And I'll open up my second bottle. Right there. And so this is how much water I have. I'm gonna put just 3 droplets of food coloring in my water. I want to be able to see my tornado form, so you don't want the water to be too dark. 1, 2, 3. There we go. And while we're letting that sit, kind of swirl it around just a little bit. Let it do what it do. Then get out your dish soap and your vinegar. Now, to make it simpler, I just pop off the tip. So you can pour all of the dish soap in here. You want to make sure you pour all of the dish soap. All right, and then we do our vinegar. So the measurements for both is going to be about a teaspoon. You want to do a teaspoon of dish soap and a teaspoon of vinegar. So I've poured both my vinegar, which again is a teaspoon, and a vinegar and my dish soap. We've added our food coloring. And so now I'm going to take my top and I'm going to close the jar right back up. You want to make sure you close it nice and tight. You don't want any of the water, or at this point, solution, to slip out. Okay, guys? All right, so this is where we are right now. Nice, pretty, clear blue water. So there we go. So now you're going to take your hand, place it over the lid like so, and then begin to twist it using your wrist. Okay? Not your arm. You see how my elbow is steady? Use your wrist. And essentially, it'll start to mix. You see how I'm starting to have bubbles form? You got to really, 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 really stir or circle. So to use all the elbow grease and the wrist grease you got. There we go. Mine's just starting to form a bit. And while I'm doing that, I'll lift it up. Maybe when I set it down, did it do it? Kind of looks like a Category 5 hurricane. Got to twist it to some more to get it to look like a tornado.
Try a little faster.
A little, let's see. And I'll set it down. What we got? There we go. If you got to see it for a split second, I'll do it again. One more time. Set it down. Did that one do it? I didn't see it.
Try it one more time.
It'll take you maybe 1 or 2 tries to kind of get that funnel going. Let's see what we working with. There we go. All right. And if we come back, we can still see our water, our rain falling down. So those were our 2 activities. We had our tornado in a jar and our rain in a jar. And you can put the lid back on the rain in the jar now. So it won't cause a mess. All right, going back to those questions of the day from previously, we have, how does rain form? So you have a pop-up on your screen. Go ahead and give me what you think the answer is. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and give the answer. So the answer was when water droplets grow heavy enough for gravity to pull them down. I hope everybody was able to get that answer. Our next question is, how are tornadoes formed? Once again, you have a pop-up on your screen. Go ahead and give that answer. All right. So
Go on.
quick second. So our next question, I'll come back to that answer. Our next question is, what is condensation? And this was a vocabulary word, so I feel like everybody should get this one right if you're paying attention. Oh,
Yeah, we don't have it. So
We don't even see it over here.
all right, guys. So how are tornadoes formed? Tornadoes are formed once again by those airs combining. We have the hot air and we have the cold air, and those airs coming together and funneling through and creating that kind of vortex. And once that vortex comes down and touches the ground, that is it. So then we have condensation. Like I said before, that was a key vocabulary word. Condensation is where you have hot air rising up into the cool air back up into the clouds. Very, very simple description. Does anybody have any questions? No? All right, great, great, great. Join us next week, Tuesday, October 5th at 4 p.m. Central Time to go over sound. It's going to be a really exciting activity that week, so join us next time. All right, it was wonderful. I had such a good time teaching you these wonderful, wonderful in a jar activities. I hope you guys are able to retain something. And once again, my name was Ariana. Have a good night.